Suppose we should figure out what we're going to talk about tonight.
Oh yeah. You noticed that the run sheet was kind of empty.
Yeah. I did notice that.
I'm bringing in a guest. He'll come up with some content for us. Okay, what do you got? Huh? Can you wave to Uncle Mark? Yeah. You wave. Hi. Yeah. Uncle Mark and I are trying to figure out what to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah.
Yeah? What do you got? But don't draw a blank now. Don't say you got something and then draw a blank.
Legend tales of a place where the booze flows freely and the stories are always entertaining. If you are bold enough to seek out such a place, head 13 miles down the Tuscan Highway to a tiny blues joint known as the Townsmith Tavern. Once there, enjoy the ride. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to a UA production of Beer, Blues, and Bowl.
Excuse me, you can't say that. You're gonna lose your family-friendly rating. You're gonna corrupt the kids.
BS! A podcast that invites you to grab a cool beverage, pull up a seat, and enjoy time with friends. And here are your hosts, Howard Blues and the Mark Kidder.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Beer, Blues, and BS, the podcast where we can survive a vicious toddler attack and still do a show. I'm your host, Howard Blues, here, as always, with my co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the Mark Kidder. Kidder, how you doing tonight?
Jeez, that was a little bit of a pause. I thought that the trauma might have had done a little number on your brain as well, but I am here, and it is my high point of the week, so I'm happy that we can share this together. And I mean, I got to see you get beat up by a toddler. So I mean, there's also that, you know, it's the joys of the simple things here. Hold on.
Yeah.
There.
For the audience who may or may not get to see that clip ever, Howie Jr. was down here, and he was saying goodnight. We were doing our usual goodnight hug, goodnight kiss. But being a toddler, he hasn't figured everything out, and so he full-fledged, full-on bit my upper lip. I had tears in my eyes.
You also need a hug and a kiss.
Yeah. Oh. Hey, there's my good night hug. Do I get a good night kiss? That was kind of lazy. Can you do better?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Give me a good night kiss. Ow!
We don't bite when we kiss, sweetheart. I know, you don't know any better.
Oh.
It's okay. We don't use our teeth when we kiss, okay? Okay. Hey, I'm sorry, Daddy. I didn't mean to hurt you.
Love you, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh. I got tears in my eyes from that. Oh.
Sorry.
Oh.
Co-host down.
It's still like I have a fat upper lip right now. It's actually kind of painful to talk. So this is going to be a fun night.
No, I thought you were going to say that it's going to be a short show then. People watching and listening, you're like, man, these bastards are going to be finally done talking in like half an hour. Thank the Lord.
I'm sure once we get a little bit of, as you would call it, the proper vocal lubrication, Kidder, it'll help dissipate the pain.
Should we get right to it then?
Yes. Let's start dulling the aches and pains of the last like 10 minutes and find out what's on tap.
Okay. So this week we are again dipping into, and I don't want to steal all of your thunder, but I figure with your condition, you might want me to explain what's on this can right here. So we might be taking a trip into the question mark land indeed, as you can see right there on the front or the back, because I'm also staring at it. The Mystery Machine IPA from Red Lodge Ales, established back in 1998 in Montana brewed. And as last week with the train wreck of a beer that we had there, Red Lodge Ales, good times, good beer. At least they have a reason to be on this show. I'll give them that. Let's see. We have the old handy-dandy bar graph right here of the flavor. So I'll read that out. It's crazy delicious. The color, IBU, alcohol per volume are all question marks. Why? Why?
It's a mystery machine. It's a mystery, Kidder. This is what you would call fun,
Is this a mystery why anybody would drink this? Or, I mean, I had to. It's right there. It's got all these IPA, the hops all over it. Like, it's just screaming hippie IPA. Like, I got to wear plaid to put this thing into my belly. Like, I don't know. This is, a little bit ridiculous. We'll end up seeing. It is, though, 12 full ounces of liquid. I don't know if it's refreshment. I don't know if it's, decent. We're just going to have to find out. So you go ahead and do the honors. You pop it open first. Take a swig.
Already did.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and again, I just wanted to reiterate for the audience, the reason why we're doing this IPA was this is one of 2 IPAs recommended to this show by my dad, who has still only listened to 20 minutes of this show. So
not this show, 20 minutes total of any show.
So this is one of his recommendations, his favorites, and it means Kidder's going to suffer for the next hour, which makes me getting my lip bit all the better, because as the unofficial motto of this show is, Kidder, sharing the misery together. So cheers. Together.
Cheers to you in this pine tree that we have to drink. I mean, it's almost like a knockoff of Pine Sol or something. Like, should I pour this on the laminate and clean it?
I will say,
might
Kidder,
strip
it is not as bitter as last week's IPA.
Yeah, but it gets you in the end there. That's the mystery of why you'd want to take another swig. If this is your first episode of watching or listening to Triple B, just a reminder that for me to drink an IPA, it either has to be given to us for free, like this, or it has to be a really hot day, and I have to have a couple in me already to just decide that I want to drink another, an IPA. So I will say it's not as the bitter beer face as last week, so 2 stars.
2 stars. See, and I like this one just a hair better than the one from last week. I'd actually probably give this like a 3.75.
Wow.
That's right. Decimals. Yeah. Decimals.
You're just a bit demented from the head injury. I get it. I get it. It's okay. Well, yeah, it's making my nose itch. Either they put hops, like too many hops in there, or they just put pollen and other allergens in because they knew that I would be drinking it and wanted to get back at me for hating IPAs. I don't know. Another excuse of or instance, not an excuse, definitely an instance of the planet trying to kill me. Or your dad. I don't know. Maybe both.
Well, what can I say? My dad does enjoy drinking IPAs. He drinks a lot of different beer. Well, let's just be clear. I mean, he drinks a lot of different beer. But he does.
Yeah.
He is a big fan of the Red Lodge ales out of Montana. So
I'd be a big fan of this local brewery as well if they had some good beer. I mean, maybe they do. We just haven't tried it yet.
You know, Kidder, when I moved into this place, you know, I went and bought beer, right? For those who were helping me move. And I was trying to pick up just a variety pack because I know, you know, not everybody enjoys an IPA, such as yourself. And I had the hardest time finding a variety pack where half the beer wasn't an IPA. It seemed like every single one, it's like 2 out of the 4 different varieties were IPAs, which was just kind of interesting to me. You know, I because it's a variety pack. I was expecting a bit more variety, you know.
Isn't that an interesting statement as to what our country is in right now? The overwhelming infestation of IPAs in the beer market. This is unbelievably tragic. I don't know. It's just tragic.
Well, you know, the IPA actually has of an interesting history, Kidder. It goes back, yeah, it actually goes back to maritime history and the English in their imperialism as they had colonies around the world. One of the things that they had problems with was actually getting beer to make it all the way to India without it basically spoiling. And so basically a different formula, a different recipe was created to allow for beer to make it to India. Hence why an IPA is an India Pale Ale. So that's
right, chap.
Yeah. So that's a very short, summarized history of it. It's a little bit more detailed out there. But again, I got a hurt lip, so I'm not going to expound too much.
And that, everybody, is History with Howard. You can't see him, but he's doing the thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite the Orange Cassidy thumbs up, which we'll get to a little bit later. He's doing the more enthusiastic thumbs up. So if you don't know what we're talking about, well, we'll get into that at some point. So there's that. Thanks for the history lesson there, Howie.
Yeah, and I'm sure that maybe future Howard will put something else up. I wouldn't count on it, though. He's getting really kind of sassy. I don't know if you've noticed that. But
yeah, that SOB's putting all kinds of stuff all over the screen and just talking back to us here in the present. Like, come on, dude. We don't have 2020 vision. We're not in the future. The IPA's already coming back. And I'm coming to see you, Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah, he even called me out on an episode, Kidder. I mean, that rarely happens. But
this is getting just absurd. This is, I don't know. I'm sure he's probably, already done things to our videos that we don't even know and cannot even imagine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He gets a little crazy sometimes. I mean, the episode that just came out, Kidder, episode, was it 22? The Bet. It's from when you were down in Vegas and I was here. For people who are sharp-eyed, if you're watching the YouTube version of that particular episode, there are a crap ton of Easter eggs.
A crap ton.
There are a lot of Easter eggs in there.
Even more than a buttload.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was a lot of stuff done throughout the course of that episode. So something for, if you've already listened to that episode or you've already watched on YouTube, go back, check it out, and keep a very close eye out. Because there's a lot of stuff, and some of it happens very, very quickly, very, very fast. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. So it'll be interesting to see how many Easter eggs people find. So, hey, if you do spot some of these Easter eggs, feel free to share. Put it in the comments. Tell people some of the stuff you're finding, because it's like a fun little game here. What all things did future Howard, who's now past Howard, put into that episode? But there's some good stuff. Very good stuff.
I will say, we did have our first comment on the video less than 2 hours after it had been posted.
You know what? I was so busy spending time with the family, I hadn't even looked to see that we got a comment. What's the comment, Kidder?
Spam. So the spammers are more interested in our show than our viewers. So thank you. Or they just know that the audience of Triple B is in the thousands and thousands in attendance. So maybe, just maybe, one person will accidentally move their mouse and click on whatever spam. But have no fear. I have removed the spam from the comment section, so you have been saved. Mm-hmm. No guarantees about this episode and whatever is happening down in the comment section right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I really am interested to see just what people find. I kind of regretted as I was actually watching it when Kidder joined this meeting. And it was kind of funny as I was watching it, I would keep poking Lefty and going, watch this part of the screen. Watch now. And I had forgotten some of the things I had put in there. I might have to sometime go back and compose a master list of that, but see what you guys can find. There's some great references. There's some great stuff that's going on throughout. So, Kidder, I'll be glad to hear your thoughts on this episode, because I know how much you liked a lot of the Easter eggs and such done on the Kidder's Log series.
Oh, absolutely. There's all kinds of things going on in there. I mean, buildings getting blown up and helicopters getting blown up, and man, just things pretty much getting assimilated, drawn, dragged, pushed. It's just nuts.
I was going to ask you, Kidder. I know I don't want to spend too much time on Kidder's Log. We did that last week, but I haven't had a chance to ask you. What did you think of the last two episodes of that? Because those were the last two that I never got any feedback from you on. So that would have been All Good Things, which was the one where you kind of showed off your swag, a lot of the pins and such that you got, and you also did a What's on Tap in that one. And then the last episode, which was your journey home. So just kind of curious what you thought of those episodes, if you liked them, if there were parts that jumped out for you. Yes, audience, I'm clearly stalling because Kidder's been sneezing and blowing his nose, and I'm running out of ways to stall. So I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Save me.
Thank you. Look at this crap. Like, this beer has destroyed me. I'm suing Montana. Not just Montana Brood, not just Red. I'm suing the whole state. This I don't know why. I'll find a reason. This is good Lord. I love the episodes. Okay. We did a couple things, in the episodes, the fun little Easter eggs and that sort of thing. But also because, trying to hold things up like this, and of course it doesn't have a decent focal length like, a real camera would. So it took some of those, the photos of, the pins and badges and things. And so I think, and I hope, as the parts that you put into the video to actually show the stuff, I hope people enjoy the detail that's in a lot of those pieces, because when you look at them and you're able to physically move them and take a look in person, I mean the detail is fantastic. The craftsmanship that they fan sets put into all of those pieces was excuse me, it's coming back. Yeah, it's not as bad as the time I almost died with the natural light seltzer, though. That's still the worst. Just made me want to rage. No, the episodes were fantastic. So thanks for doing that, and I hope some people enjoyed them. I know I certainly did, and got some laughs out of them, and then reminded me how sad I was that everything was all over again. So it was depression step 3 out of 4 or 5. It was just, the next stage. But either way, I thought it was wonderful. Did a great job with those, so appreciate it.
Yeah. My I think probably one of my favorite little things that I pulled off throughout all of that, and it's at the end of that episode, All Good Things, and it's at the very end of the episode where you sign off, and I turned your hotel room into the holodeck. I liked that. It worked, and it's one of my favorite moments. Lefty liked something that happened a little later after that, which I don't want to give away, but that's definitely an episode to watch to the very end, because there was some shenanigans at the end of that episode.
Yeah.
So
definitely. Always shenanigans when you get the two of us involved in something. So thanks for doing the work on that. This thing just destroyed me. Damn you, Montana. Your wide open spaces and all of your pollen and allergens. Even getting canned. All right. Something I wanted to talk about is like what's on TV. We kind of talked about it a little bit in the past weeks of like what we've been watching lately, but just wanted to start here and then, grow into the next, things that we'll get into about this weekend's shows. Of course, we got the wrestling stuff, which, like I said, we'll get into, but other shows that I've been watching, include Archer. I don't think that you've ever really been a huge fan or been able to check out a lot of the episodes, but Archer has returned once again on FXX, and FX has another network, FXX, and then I think they have FXN, FX2, FX Movies. I don't know. They got all these networks, but Archer is back, and so far this season, not too bad. Let's see, would have been last week was the premiere, and they aired the first 2 episodes back to back, and then tonight was the 3rd episode. Not too bad. So had a couple laugh moments, and so I give that a plus. Also ended up, go ahead.
I was going to clarify for the record, I actually do enjoy Archer. And I actually have watched quite a bit of it. However, Archer came out about the time that I gave up cable. So my viewing of Archer was limited to I think it was they only did the first 5 seasons on Netflix. So I have seen the first 5 seasons and nothing since. But I do like what I've seen. And I actually watched through those 5 seasons more than once. So I actually really do enjoy Archer. If there's anything I don't like about Archer, it's how there are people who have watched Archer and have taken some of the catchphrases and they overuse them like they're their own. I may have a family member who now, anytime you spill anything or drop anything, has to do that. Do you want ants? This is how you get ants. It's
right.
I get that was funny, but you kind of you're kind of
maybe limit it to once a year or something. Cut down the use, or just get your own catchphrase.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing, on occasion to break it out, if somebody, especially if somebody drops the right thing, but yeah. So that's I think the only downside I have to Archer is there's a few of those sorts of phrases that it's get used over and over and over and over and over, and it's oh my gosh, just move on.
It's what I'm kind of guilty of, though. I'll admit it. If there's the right saying or something, I'll throw out the phrasing, but I'll try not to overuse that either. So there's that.
Phrasing I didn't mind. Phrasing I still think is funny, because phrasing for the audience, if you have never seen Archer, was kind of his way of anytime anybody said anything that could be taken as a innuendo, he would say phrasing, basically saying, hey, you shouldn't say it that way because it implies this. And the thing about it was that got to be very creative. There were different things that he would pick up on and call phrasing on. And therefore, there are situations where, hey, you can catch somebody saying something and go, haha, phrasing, and it works. My previous example of when somebody drops something to go do you want ants? I mean, that can only
not as clever.
Right. It can only happen when somebody drops something. It's got about as much creativity and comedic genius as when somebody dropped a plate in the dining hall when we were in college and everybody would.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's that's not funny. It happens so much. It's you're kind of the asshole level at that point. So phrasing, I don't mind. The whole run ants. That one, yeah. Anyway, enough of an Archer rant. What else are you watching here?
Well, the other night, we happened to watch four movies. Just decided to. Shit, this was last weekend, I think, already. Yeah, the other night, last week. Yeah, you're done. My allergies are trying to kill me from the inside because all that pollen and hippiness. I don't know. Maybe it'll help my beard grow a little bit more. I don't know. Let's see. So, Wrath of Man. That features
Jason Statham.
Quite a few people in that one, but the most namesake would be Jason Statham. It's quite an interesting movie. But Jason Statham put on quite a performance for that movie there. So I recommend you watch it. It's not too bad. What?
Nothing.
Oh.
I actually tuned out there for a second. I was thinking about something else. Sorry.
Thought you were having a stroke. Smile at me. Look, you got head trauma in the past half an hour. Please.
I was gonna say. I mean, I have a light, up here that's just cycling through colors because Junior turned it on.
Why not?
So it's not like I can do just mess with you and just pretend to have lagged out and just kind of freeze and go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, because the light gives me away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Anyway, I've seen the trailer for this. How was the movie? I am curious.
It wasn't the biggest, baddest blockbuster, but there were some interesting points in the movie, and really weaves an interesting thread through the movie that you're still kind of like, huh, what about that? Huh, what? Oh, wow. So it did garner my attention, and it was the last of the movies that we ended up watching. So I still give it a solid 4 stars out of 5. So it's worth a watch. And the hell was it? I can't remember the damn filmmaker now, but in fact, let's take a look. Because there was supposed to be written by somebody. Yeah, Guy Ritchie directed it. So $104 million made at the box office, even though it came out in May of this year. Jason Statham, Scott Eastwood, Josh Hartnett, even Post Malone is in the movie. He popped up and I started laughing. I'm like, frickin' Post Malone. Jeffrey Donovan is in the movie. So there's a couple people in there. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. I guess one thing I kind of had issues with at the end is it just popped up to the end, cut off, and didn't really feel that there was enough. A little bit more. It was all right.
Yeah, I get that a lot with a lot of modern movies where they kind of get to the climax and then they're done.
Okay, thanks for watching. A good one.
And you're just like, I want just a little bit more resolution, I want just a tiny bit more. I mean, I guess I say modern movies. There are some older movies that have kind of that same shtick. I mean, James Bond movies, if you go back and watch some of those where, he kills the bad guy and it's him and the girl and it's, oh, James, and credits roll.
Okay.
And it's one of those where you're just like, huh. But I mean, James Bond, you're not going to a James Bond for character growth. James Bond is kind of a singular character. That's his thing. He doesn't change a lot. You basically watch a James Bond movie to watch somebody who is extremely competent do what they do best, and that's it. And
I'm really looking forward to No Time to Die, which apparently has been delayed for the release again to early 2022.
For anybody who doesn't know, I am a huge James Bond fan, and that's sad. It's been too long, kidder. I want a James Bond movie.
Yeah, it was supposed to be out 2020. And a delay because of shooting and COVID, and then delay because of production issues, and then delay. It's just draw out the marketing campaign advertising the movie that may never actually be released.
I think it will be released. I just want it to be out.
It has to be. It's Daniel Craig's last Bond movie.
Which is actually surprising because they said that about his last one. But I'm glad that he came back because I loved the last one. I loved Spectre. I wanted more. Daniel Craig, really, for the most part, his run has been fairly good and has done a fairly good job of breaking the Bond cycle. Most people who follow Bond movies will tell you, especially starting with the Pierce Brosnan films, there's kind of a cycle. Really good movie, really bad movie. Really good movie, really bad movie. Really good movie, really bad movie. And it's just kind of has fluctuated like that, and Craig has broke that. I mean, it took him a bit. Casino Royale was really good. Quantum of Solace was, but it since then it has been excellent, and I am excited for this next one. But yeah, when I say I was a big James Bond fan in high school, you could have played, the first measure of any Bond theme song, and I could have told you what the song was, who sung it, what the movie was, who the villain was, who the henchmen were, who the Bond girl was. I mean, I loved James Bond movies. I still do. I do own them all on Blu-ray. And hey, when I'm done with this movie, it's actually been on my list for a while to sit down and have a good old-fashioned Bond-a-thon and watch them all. So I'm excited for this one to come out. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I want it. Woo.
Over the past winter, the 4K set of the Daniel Craig movies to date was on sale at a very good price. So I ended up picking it up because I had them on Blu-ray. I forget that I had picked each of them up on Blu-ray. But anyway, sat down and watched all 4 of the movies back to back to back to back. And just because they are that good and they look fantastic in 4K, I do have to say. And especially the opening scene of Spectre with the single camera shot following everything through the action. That was Spectre, right?
Spectre was the last one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that one I went to see in the theater 3 times. I think. I can't remember if we went to that together or not, because we've seen a couple, I think, of the Daniel Craig ones together.
You and I don't tend to go to movies together very often, and I don't know that we have really gone to a movie together since you have been with your missus.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it has been kind of a long time since you and I have actually gone to a movie together.
It's almost the last time since almost the time since the last Bond movie came out.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's one of those things. You and her, you guys go to movies far more than Lefty and I tend to, and such. But
we did. I used to be super excited to go to movies. Partially, number one, we'd go to AMC, which used to be Carmike on the north end of town. And the reason we went there is because pretty much everybody else wouldn't go there. Just, I don't know why. Just, whatever. Picture quality and the sound was fine. Yeah, the seats were a little hard because, they were 20 years old, but whatever. A 2-hour movie, you can make it through. When AMC took over, they put the drink machines out in the front and the icy machines. So if you knew what you were doing and you had your AMC rewards card, you go, you get your icy cup, you bring in your bucket, you get it refilled for $5, and you give this much popcorn, and then you go fill up your icy. You go in, you sit down in the movie, or wait for the movie, I should say, because the previews are going and whatnot, or previews before the previews. You made it through your icy, so you go back out, got another icy. So your icy is no longer $8, it's $4. And for every dollar you spend, you get the AMC rewards or the Carmichael rewards before that. So then you keep building up money and you get free popcorn, free drinks, free tickets for the movies and stuff. So we would keep going. And, $5 for a movie. Absolutely. Go check it out on Tuesday or whatnot. And then COVID hit. They closed everything because of the restrictions. And then, they were closed down. The owners were like, yeah, we're not renewing the lease, by the way. So we're closed, which is very disappointing. So there's only the one theater in town. I mean, no disrespect to that theater, because I like going to the theater. I like how they have it set up. It's the Egyptian palace feel, and the pharaohs and the tombs and this and that. And, it is nice. But now it's the only theater in town that everybody has to go to. So if there's a major blockbuster release, everybody and their dog's going to be there, and I don't want to be there with everybody else. I want to go to my Carmichael AMC theater where there was nobody in the 200-person theater, and I got a private showing that I can laugh and don't have to worry about, and have this whatever, and that's funny. Shut up. Sorry.
So I will agree with you. I do miss the AMC Carmichael Theater, and I mean, nothing wrong with the Grand Theater. The only thing I've ever had as a problem with the Grand Theater is that whole the curtains open, show you the previews, the curtains close, just to reopen. I hated that.
They still do it.
I know, it still drives me nuts.
Yeah.
So I miss that small intimate theater experience. Kidder, I do remember actually the last movie you and I went to, because it came up as yes. The last movie that you and I went to was actually Godzilla. Was actually the last movie that you and I went to the movies with, because
that's right.
Because it was us with our respective wives, and we were the only 4 people in the theater, and you and I made comments
the whole time,
including my including favorite, because we were waiting, because for those who know the Godzilla lore, Godzilla comes out of the ocean after the atomic bomb dropped to destroy Tokyo. So we were waiting, we were both queued up for the Blue Oyster Cult's Godzilla. Oh no! There goes Tokyo. Oh no, Godzilla! We're waiting the whole time. And there's a scene in Godzilla, and the movie's old enough. I'm not even going to worry about the spoiler warning. Where they go crashing.
We're saving you $5 at this point, okay?
Yeah,
we're saving you money.
Yeah, where they go crashing through Chinatown, and I again watching the screen, but I just kind of say it because Kidder's sitting next to me. I go, well, I think that's as close to Tokyo as we're going to get. And the Kidder, without missing a beat, goes, oh no, there goes Tokyo. And we both joined in. Oh no, Godzilla.
Woo!
And our wives are
we got a kick out of it anyway.
But that was the last time, Kidder, that you and I were at a movie together was Godzilla. That would have been the last time.
How about the other major malfunction with that movie? Since we're off on a tangent with movie that I haven't seen recently, but with that movie, how about halfway through and they're in that helicopter and they're flying from whatever, and the dad researcher, main character, this guy knows something and he's going places, whatever, crashes, and he dies. He freaking dies. A main character. He was the best character in the movie besides freaking Godzilla.
Well,
What are you doing?
Well, truthfully, he dies very early in the movie.
Okay, maybe I tuned out another half after that, so that's why I thought it was halfway through the movie.
The reason why that was so outrageous was Bryan Cranston is the actor who plays that character, the dad, and he was just coming off his Breaking Bad run, and had earned kind of all this respect as this phenomenal actor. And I think if you watch the trailers for that Godzilla, you thought, oh, he's throughout the entire movie. He's a main character. No, he bites the dust fairly early in that movie, and I think that upset
terrible
a lot of people. I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed this latest run on Godzilla. I did not really enjoy Kong of Skull Island. That was a little too much for me, and I have not seen Godzilla versus King Kong, which is almost like a sin in my book, because I mean, for those who have watched the YouTube channel, you used to know that in my old place I used to have a big poster of King Kong, my all-time favorite movie monster, one of my all-time favorite movies. So I haven't seen King Kong versus Godzilla. One of these days I'll get to it. I just have not made it to it yet. So
I haven't watched either. I typically, honestly, I stay away from all of those. It is what it is. But I'm trying to remember what the damn movie is now, where they build the robots to defeat the invading monsters. What the hell movie is that?
Pacific Rim.
Yes, Pacific Rim. I enjoyed that movie more than I enjoyed Godzilla. I said it.
Kidder, I have never seen Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
I own 2 copies of it.
You own 2 copies of Pacific Rim?
Yeah, so here we go. Here's a fun story. I missed Pacific Rim in theaters. When it came out, it was just not a good time for me to go to the theater and see it. But I heard it was really good. And at the time that came out, Lefty and I were living in my in-laws' basement. We had just moved back from Montana, and we were trying to find a place to live and stay. And I think it was Stars had their like, hey, it's free Stars weekend, and you could off the satellite see all the stuff that was on Stars. And with their satellite package, they had a DVR system. And my father-in-law recorded Pacific Rim and watched it. I had seen that he had recorded it, and I was like, okay, well, great. I will watch this when I have time. And after he was done watching it, he deleted it, which is rare for him. He usually holds on to those sorts of things because somebody else might want to see it, but he deleted it. So I noticed, like, oh, it's not here. Well, it's replaying at this time. So I set it to record. Well, he's in there looking through, and he's like, oh, I thought I deleted this. I already watched it. So he deleted it again. Me and him, for like the entire week that this free week was going on, I kept recording Pacific Rim. He kept deleting Pacific Rim. And by the end of it, we didn't have a recording of it. So I didn't get to see it then. So I missed it in theaters. I missed it during that. So my brother-in-law gifted me, you drugged me Black Friday shopping to Best Buy, and I had heard all these great things about Pacific Rim. I'm like, well, for $5, okay, I'll pick it up. I like kaiju movies. $5 is an excellent price for this. So I own, this Blu-ray copy of it. But again, haven't had a chance to watch it. I've been so busy. I was busy with work and all of that. My brother-in-law then gifted me for Christmas another copy of Pacific Rim. So I own 2 copies of Pacific Rim, have yet to see it. And at this point, it's almost become like a Christmas Story to me, where it's like, do I ever watch it? For those who know the Christmas Story, it's a classic holiday Christmas movie. Like, it's on TNT like all the time around Christmas time. And I have never seen that movie either, because I'm one of those guys who has to see the movie from the beginning. And I could never catch the beginning of that movie. So I've never seen that movie either.
Same.
But it's like I know references to it and all of those sorts of things.
Yeah, like
and that's
they'll
how
shoot your eye out.
Yep. Mm-hmm. The leg lamp.
That's pretty much it.
Fragile.
Oh yeah, the lamp.
Yeah, I mean, I know references. I can't imagine that there's too much more to the movie that I haven't seen, or picked up. But yeah,
the flagpole, the tongue and the flagpole.
Yep, I know about that too.
So again, we both, between both of us, we've seen the whole movie, so we don't have to watch it. We're fine.
Yeah, so I haven't seen that one. My wife brings that one up every Christmas, and such. But yeah, Pacific Rim, I haven't missed. But it's been like this almost comedic comedy of me not being able to watch Pacific Rim, and so yeah.
So if they come out with a 4K version, I'll have to buy that for you.
No.
Give it to you as a Christmas one year.
I actually think I got rid of. I think before this move, I think I got rid of one of the copies of Pacific Rim. While I think about it.
Well, there was a sequel, so I guess we have. I have that ability. I could get that to you.
Yep, I know there's a sequel. There's even an animated series, and I still have not seen a lick of it, which is sad because not only should it be everything that I want in a kaiju movie. I mean, I believe the director is Guillermo del Toro, who I love a lot of his stuff. I mean, there's like it should check all of Howard's boxes. Howard should want to see this movie, and Howard just, hey, I mean, it's the craziness of life, man. I just have not seen Pacific Rim yet. So one of these days, I'll put it in the old Xbox, fire it up, and enjoy it. So.
Watch the dust blow out the back. Hey, that reminds me, you got to turn that sumbitch on and get all your updates, because by the time we play again, you'll have all of the updates.
Actually, Kidder, it is plugged in. If I yeah, it's up. It's behind me. So I am back to gaming possible. So, and it
awesome.
it should be updated. I think it's updated.
Better turn it on just to make sure.
If I did that, it would kill the joke. For those who don't know, Kidder purchased a copy of Call of Duty for me, and there have been a multitude of times where he's like, "Hey, Howard, we're all gaming. You should join us." And I'm like, "Yes, this is great. I can." And I end up spending the whole night watching the download bar just slowly go across, because even though I have told my Xbox, like, hey, update this stuff, please, it doesn't. So, you
could be like Kyle and be stuck installing shaders for 20 minutes to an hour. That's separate from the update for the PC. I don't know why he got the PC version. So, Rude Boy Kyle, I'm calling you out. You have an Xbox.
Yeah. So, anytime that you guys are thinking about gaming, give me at least like 24 hours notice, and I might try and fire it up and see. But it's tougher.
I'd say that we're hoping. It's been 82 days since Brother Nico, Rude Boy Kyle, and I gamed. And I know it's been even longer than the two of us have gamed. So that's outrageous! Needs to be changed. So, but now that we're on this huge tangent.
It was a good tangent. For those who don't know, when we sat down to record this, there was nothing in the rundown. So we're doing pretty good. And, Kidder, this is episode 25. We're
quarter of a century. Holy crap.
Yeah. Well, and, okay, so if you're doing your math, next week is episode 26, which means that we are like 6 months into this whole podcasting adventure. And heck, let's celebrate now. So, Kidder, I actually have a can of Cold Smoke here.
Woo! They changed the cans. Look at that.
Yeah. For those who maybe have heard me mention this is from Kettle House Brewing Company out of Missoula, Montana. It is my all-time favorite beer. It is my beer of choice. It is a Scotch ale. This is 1 pint. It is a good 6.5% alcohol volume. It comes with tasting notes such as smooth, roasty, and robust finish. Brewed and canned by Kettle House Brewing Company in Montana. Cold Smoke, light, bottomless powder carved by skiers and borders is what Cold Smoke, if you're wondering where that term comes from. But yes, my all-time favorite beer, Kidder. And it's finally on episode 25, making its grand appearance on the show. So,
cheers to you.
Yeah.
On what's on tap?
Oh, that's good. That's good. And Kidder, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that this particular can of Cold Smoke and its three brothers upstairs were brought to me by the brewmaster of the Triple B, the local geek, Darren. He made a trek to Montana earlier this summer and sent a lovely text saying, "Would you like Cold Smoke?" And I'm like, "Yes, please." So I have Cold Smoke again, and it's good.
You have to say it's very, very nice of him. Be courteous and bring those beverages back for you. But as you're enjoying that, a couple of the other movies that we checked out were the new Black Widow.
Yeah.
It is over 2 hours long. It probably shouldn't have been. It was even longer because we were having lag, like connection issues. So it was probably about 3 hours long for us when we were watching it. So it made me even, I guess, more annoyed because, you know, it's not like you can sit down and just watch something or listen to something. It's all right. Edit it. You get the buffering bastard on your screen. So, yeah. So I was annoyed by it. And there were, I don't want to say plot holes, but it was just, like, I don't want to question if it needed to be made because, you know, the story is interesting. Do I think that the quality went down since Spike Lee passed? Throwing it out there. I'll give it a like 3.5. Lower because of, you know, again, how it felt like it was dragging along. Lower because the excessive use of CGI in there, to the point where a lot of the stuff was overly fake. Like, I get a lot of the Marvel stuff is very CG driven, and, you know, there's a lot of crazy scenes, but you're tying that into like sci-fi stuff as well. Like Thor's got a hammer and he's smashing stuff, or, you know what, like extra things are happening. But with Black Widow, she's a trained assassin, stolen as a kid, et cetera, et cetera.
One of those where I think in the past Marvel has been much more of a the right amount of special effects and such to the, shall I say, the power level of the character. You know, when you have a Thor who can fling lightning, you're going to need a lot more than, say, a Captain America who, I mean, really besides a shield that bounces beyond physics, I mean, really, it's just that he's a super strong guy who can fight, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's a certain amount of level and grounding, and I think that as the Marvel cinematic universe has grown and 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 grown, there's a little bit too much emphasis on we got to make it bigger, we got to make it better. It kind of gets away from some of these times where they kind of played with a little bit more of feel and went a little off genre. Some of the Captain America movies, such as Winter Soldier or Civil War, work a little bit more because they're almost like spy thriller genre than superhero. You know,
And I think that would have worked better for the Black Widow introduction movie, but they went a little extra. I mean, yeah. Anyway, so again, great shots in it. I mean, there's some wonderful visuals, so it's worth a watch. And the whole thing of Scarlett Johansson suing Disney. So I don't know how that's going to turn out, but
you know, Kidder, I'll come back to that. Try and help me remember because I'm now consuming a lot of alcohol tonight. Try and help me remember this lawsuit thing because there's a topic I put later on the rundown that suffers from kind of the same problem as this lawsuit. So try and help me remember that. I don't want to talk about it quite yet.
Okay, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do because we have the magic of technology. I'm copying and pasting a link to an article so that you can read it. Well, and get the update. Well, I'm talking about the next movie on the list, which was Tomorrow's War. Oh, what?
I was just trying to remember if we were on movie 3 or movie 4.
3. This is number 3.
Okay.
Yes. Tomorrow's War. This one, I think, is actually the best of the 4. It's an Amazon movie, and I'm trying to remember his name now. He is in the Marvel series. Yes, thank you. Yeah, Chris Pratt stars in it. So I'm glad that you're aware of this. You must have seen the ads on your Fire Stick.
I don't have a Fire Stick, but I've seen the trailer for it.
Oh, okay. So as you are familiar, he is a high school sciences teacher, and he's there for Christmas. He gets denied a job. So he goes into this Christmas party. He's also ex-military, so he has, military training, of course. And as they're sitting there watching a soccer game, there's this big... And then all these people walk out, all these soldiers, and they're there looking around, and they basically explain that they came back from the future, from 30 years out. At that point, they have been in a war with these aliens, and humanity is losing. And it's so bad that they've developed a way for people to be transported to the future. So first, it's a bunch of, the militaries. Global togetherness. Everybody unites. Get sent to the future, they all die, basically. Dead. So then there's a worldwide draft, and there's protests and all kinds of crazy stuff happening throughout the world. But people are still getting drafted and sent to the future. Essentially, they have records from the future that are sent back to the present of, okay, you get killed or a condition or somehow you die in anywhere from 0 to 30 years. So you get drafted, you get this thing implanted on your arm, and then you have to show up, and then you get teleported to the future, because if you die, it doesn't matter because you're going to die anyway. So he ends up finding out that he is supposedly dying in 7 years. ends up getting drafted and goes to the future. Long la da 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 da. Also, I'm trying to remember his name now, but he's the farmer's insurance guy.
Simmons.
Yeah, DC Simmons, is that right?
JJ Simmons.
JJ Simmons.
I will double check.
He's in the movie as Chris Pratt's dad. Has a big old beard and anti-government. It's kind of interesting. So they go to the future. The other thing is when you get drafted, you're there for 7 days, and then you get brought back. Wherever you are, it teleports you back. So I don't know how that works, because you have to be in this big room and you get sucked into the sky, into this thing. But when you get brought back, it doesn't matter where you are. The thing just grabs you and there you go. So it's somewhat of a plot hole. But
J.K. Simmons.
J.K.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Here we go. Thank you.
Phenomenal actor. Phenomenal.
Yes. He did a great job in the movie. There were some really good points and some great animation and visuals in this movie as well. A couple cheesy things where I'm like, all right, okay. But overall, I give it a good 4.5 stars. So worth a watch.
Okay.
Next movie on the list was The Infinite. I think that's what it is. Or now I gotta look just to make sure. Not Matt Damon. Matt Damon. Mark Wahlberg stars in this movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, the one where multiple lives.
Infinite. Yeah.
Infinite. Yeah.
And so this one is very, very interesting to me in the premise, right? Because just like you were saying, there's a small percentage of the population who are people who are enlightened, if you will. They remember and carry their memories with them into the next life. So while they are born as different people, different names, different cultures and whatnot, they are still brought into, they're still themselves, but they move and they discover they are, who they think they are. Very interesting throughout the movie in the terms of the plot and trying to figure things out as Mark Wahlberg's character is trying to figure out, because he got this metal plate, so he's being blocked from being able to remember who he was in the past lives and things, but he knows that there's something weird because he remembers and knows how to do things, but never learned them. Like he makes this samurai sword, but he, his character didn't know how. Just decided one day he's going to make a sword and makes this quality sword. So anyway, that's got a nice up and down and standard script there. So it's enlightening to watch. So I'll give that a 3.5 star.
No, that sounds interesting. It sounds like you've been watching far more stuff than I have. I don't get a lot of time right now to really watch a lot of things, just due to the craziness of kind of work and having a kid and trying to unpack and all of that. So I mostly been watching a lot of like random YouTube videos on different things and such. One of my favorite internet creators, Jeff Ramsey. He's one of the founders of Rooster Teeth, one of the founder of Achievement Hunter. He has, and sorry, future Howard because I'm gonna have to censor it, but it's what he named it. He's got kind of a new series out that's called Face Break Shit.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it's basically him and a couple of his friends opening packs of cards. So they do things from like baseball cards and things like that. They work in a lot of their humor to it, including they were talking about sending cards out to people. So they were separating cards into different categories, such as, and again, this was baseball cards. Things like players that look like they could easily be a stepdad, to players that look constipated in their card, things like that, so that they could have like a funny set to send. But then he also has a pack sack, which he has filled with like random collectible cards. So the last episode I watched, he had pulled out and so what he does is every episode he will reach into this pack and he will pull out one of these random packs of craziness. So like the last one, it was New Kids on the Block trading cards. And so he opened New Kids on the Block trading cards on it. It's the kind of thing that as I've been finishing up my Bones inventory, which I am officially done with Kidder, but it's been a great thing to have just on in the background and listen to him talk about shenanigans and along with some of his hosts. So otherwise, I've been all over and a lot of kids stuff. I think I mentioned it last episode, a lot of Bluey, which I know you don't have a kid, but for anyone in our audience, if you do have a kid, I do recommend Bluey. It is about a family of dogs it's either Australia or New Zealand. I haven't picked up which quite, but they play a lot of interesting games, and it's interesting. Like the whole premise is the games that you play with kids. And so the family is all dogs, and they will play games like Keepy Uppy, which is a game where you take a balloon and you try to keep it up and don't let it touch the ground. But there's some great interactions between the parents and the kids. But there's a lot of really great like adult humor in it. And not like, oh, here's a dirty joke that's going to go over the kid's head. It's like, if you are a parent, you will have dealt with these situations before. Like there's a great example where they're going for a walk and the littlest kid wants to be carried. And the whole episode then pertains to the family trying to create games to convince the kid that, no, you can make it. You don't need to be carried. But I mean, if you're any adult and you have a kid, I mean, I get Junior doesn't do this a lot. Like he doesn't have a lot of words, but there will be times where it's like, okay, let's go do this. And he will just turn to you and go, carry me. It's like, okay, I'll pick you up. So I get it. But it's really good. And they are short. A lot of them are like 10 to 15 minutes, and that's it for the entire episode. But they're really good. There's humor that an adult can enjoy. Other than that, one thing, hey, Kidder, here's a fun fact for you.
Yes.
Toddlers, in their attempt to learn knowledge, they will want to watch and see the same things over and over and over again, because that helps them to learn a little bit more about language and patterns and all of that, which is why kids will watch things over and over and over and over and over again, which is the reason why I have watched the Electric Mayhem's version of Paul Simon's Kodachrome so much. Great song, but it's been stuck in my head because Junior really likes the Electric Mayhem's version of Kodachrome, so we've been listening to that a lot. But that's basically what I have been watching along with Sesame Street and other things. But yeah, I haven't got to enjoy a lot of TV, Kidder. So yeah, a lot of just random YouTube stuff. So yeah, I think we've beaten this topic to death. And I know we have on here that we should talk about some wrestling.
Well, it is what's on TV, so why don't we just continue it? The first thing that I wanted to touch on, because it's been making the headlines in the wrestling circles, wrestling circuit, is the NXT reboot. Vince McMahon is taking control of NXT. More so. Like the direct day-to-day operation, every episode, I should say he and Bruce Pritchard are going to be the showrunners of NXT. Apparently, there's a lot of people on the chopping block, so I am sure that in the next month or two, we're going to see a bunch of people being released from NXT. Also, they have a new logo and a new rap theme. Yes, stand by for the logo. That by itself doesn't look terrible. When you look at the overall theme with that, it's horrible. It's like something that I would have randomly thrown together in Photoshop when I was learning how to use Photoshop because I didn't know what I was doing. Or Illustrator.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. And I mean it definitely signifies a very different look and feel than what we have seen in the past. And I'm trying to get the internet to work with me here. And I will just do it this way. And by as we share this tab instead. So here you can see old NXT logo versus new NXT logo. And it's clear that the PG-esque era that we have seen on the main roster that has gotten many fans upset, has many fans leaving, is now on its way to NXT. And that's sad. I'm also really worried about this chopping block stuff, Kidder, because there is some phenomenal talent that has stayed on NXT because they're thriving there. People like Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano. Those guys are phenomenal. But they would never, ever succeed on the main roster, which is sad. Their storyline in NXT is incredible. They started off as a tag team, those two. DIY, do it yourself. And they had a phenomenal run. They had amazing matches with the Revival. Amazing matches. And then they went into a whole storyline when they broke them up, and it was like one of the best, Kidder. And this is old enough, so I don't feel the need to do a spoiler warning. When they broke up DIY, it was after they lost to the Revival. And it was at the end of a takeover, and they flashed the little bug down in the corner, which all WWE fans know means, hey, this takeover's over. And they flashed that, and that's where the breakup, that's where the attack happened, was after that had flashed, and they stayed with it. It was phenomenal. It was one of the best betrayals. It led to some great rivalry matches. So yeah, these are guys that I don't want to see leave. So those rumors worry me. But I do worry about, again, the whole Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard. I haven't seen anything super great on the main roster. I really do worry what they're going to do to NXT. So it's a sad day for me to kind of hear this stuff. Not that I've been watching NXT, but as somebody who used to watch it fairly regularly, it was a good show. It was a very good show.
Part of it allegedly will bring back the original NXT of kind of that feel of the new talent. And I mean, I thought it was bad then. But a funny reference was made this week or the week before about the four main people on AEW. I shouldn't say main people, but you have Chris Jericho, Christian Cage, CM Punk, and I'm trying to remember who the fourth judge was. It might have even been Cody Rhodes at that point, but they're all in AEW, and they were, the pros of the original NXT back then. I can't remember if it was Cody Rhodes or somebody else, but anyway, This the picture that you've been staring at for a little bit here is apparently an artist rendering of the new set and ring setup. I think it's interesting with the side setup like that of all the chairs being so close and lifted or elevated, but I don't know. I miss ECW, so that's my thing.
And I hadn't seen that rendering, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. I understand that they're wanting to get back to this whole training new talent, and because let's face it, they've been bringing in a lot of these indie darlings, guys who already know how to wrestle, and such, and just basically it's been a chance to really kind of build their names, get them to the WWE style, and then move them up to the main roster. And I think I think this is the idea that they no longer want to go with the indie darlings, and they just want to find the people they can shape. But I mean, Kidder, name the last guy that they brought in and created from scratch. I mean, I don't know. There's some people who came up through OVW, and such, but so many of the people that have kind of risen up, even through NXT, that list is pretty short of talent that moved over, because once NXT really became a thing, they you stopped seeing that. You saw
a lot of people in the indies wanted to join and have a career versus a week-to-week struggle.
Yeah, I mean, but like people like Bo Dallas, who was a long champion in NXT, like nothing really in the main roster. There were some groups that did well. The Wyatt family came up out of there. The Shield came out of there, although they weren't the Shield in NXT. They were pulled from NXT to do that. But I mean, it gets to one of those things. Finn Balor made a big splash. Kevin Owens made a big splash. Sami Zayn. But it has kind of dropped off, unfortunately. And it's sad, because you got to see a different style of NXT. It was different than the main roster, and you saw great storylines. You had great mysteries, and it was a product that I really enjoyed watching, and really had only stopped watching just due to time. You know, my life has been crazy in the last few years, so it's kind of what's kept me from watching. So it's one of those things. So yeah, I'm a little sad to hear what's going on with NXT. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but yeah, it's a little disappointing. But
I do have to report a tragedy
tonight's
SmackDown as well. So last weekend, I think, the storyline for Baron Corbin changed. He won a slot machine or something, whatever they made. He ended up winning, a shit ton of money. And so he bought all the stuff back, and he's riches, and now he's happy Corbin. He no longer apparently has his entrance music. It's a different theme that he comes out to now. The best theme that WWE had going for really any of the wrestlers is gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
So, that's a tragedy.
Sometimes a change can be good. But that's one that didn't really need to be changed. So anyway.
Yeah.
That's sad.
So there's that. Let's move on to a new battleground that we're really getting into covering, and that's the AEW. Why am I watching AEW? Because CM Punk is on there now, and I've discovered that there's more people on there that I want to watch than not. And you talk about new talent and upcoming talent and stuff. Arn Anderson is over there in front of the camera, and his son's wrestling. He's made his in-ring debut last week, so good stuff. This weekend, Sunday night, in fact, is AEW All Out. But it looks like it is a good card. Half these people, I don't really know, but I've been somewhat impressed by watching the matches. The way that the program typically goes for Dynamite or for Rampage, those are their two shows throughout the week. It's very fast-paced, and they're constantly talking about what's coming up later. Yep, after this match, we're going to be talking with Howie Blues. He claims that he killed off Howard the Ref, but did it actually happen? You're going to find out after this match, so stick around, because we'll actually... Holy crap, the shirt's coming off! Stand by for breaking news. But right now, we are in a tag team match. It's just in the middle of the commentary, and then they work in their marketing, and then they work in their social media, and then they work in what's next, and then they take a break, and they do the squeeze back so for most of it, so you can watch the match during the commercial break if you want, and then again come back, and they're talking about stuff coming up in the show. Buy this, whatever the case is. And again, I still have the same gripes, I guess, about, like we talked about before, previous episode a couple weeks ago, of, yes, they put the names up, but there's so much garbage on the screen at once. And it's interesting. Like, it's interesting in the form of, like, it's facts that you'd want to see. Like, it's great information, but there's so much of it. Here's 3 seconds, and now it's gone. So I'm like, okay, here's their name, and it's the same size almost as their Twitter accounts that are underneath, and they're apparently the champion of something this, and there's a number off to the side, and then there's this stuff on the bottom of their win-loss record, and this and that, and then, it's just graphic diarrhea. But I like it that it's there. It just needs to be there a lot longer to see and understand. I mean, it goes along the same lines that you were talking about of why kids like to watch the same thing over and over and over again to be able to understand. Well, even as children, teens, adults, elderly. It doesn't matter. I mean, you still have to have the stuff up on the screen long enough for any reasonable person to read the stuff 4 times. Because when you're looking at it and it's up there for 3 seconds, not long enough. 5 seconds, not long enough. 10 is usually about at or too long. So there is kind of a sweet spot in there. If it is just a quick name and like a title, you can get away with 5 seconds. But with all of that crap that they put on there, I mean, you're easily talking 10 seconds. Like, just to sit and look and whatever. I mean, and there's not enough time for it, just the way that they're set up.
Yeah, I mean, and I haven't really gotten to watch a lot of Dynamite or Rampage because, again, I'm a guy without cable. However, I do, and I have on occasion tuned into AEW Dark, Elevation, which is their YouTube shows, which is a great spot. It's kind of it's where they do their squash matches a lot of times, and it's where they do their dark matches. So the matches that go on usually as part of the actual like Dynamite taping, they might have a dark match or two. That's where they tend to be. And it is very fast paced. And I remember hearing in some of the interviews when they first started that there were things that Tony Khan wanted to get rid of. He wanted to get rid of that, oh, there's something happening in the back and there just happens to be a camera there. Yeah, he doesn't want any of that. And so they actively avoid that stuff. If there's a camera back there, you know, it's there because
for an interview.
Right. There's a purpose to it. No more are you going to get that like, hey, I'm the heel and I'm going to reveal my evil plan here on camera for all of you to watch. You know, that doesn't happen. You know, so there's a lot more fast paced. I will agree with you. I would like those graphics to be on just a tish longer. But I will say a lot of times, at least in Dark and Elevation, the commentators actually do a fairly nice job of reiterating some of those facts during the course of the match. So you can still pick up on some of that stuff. But I will give you, it is very much fast paced. It's very much, here's the action. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep promoting. We're going to keep, and I can appreciate all of that. It feels like a sporting event, right? Let's dive into this. The whole wrestling is fake. Okay.
Here we go.
Let's get into this, right? So in the history of wrestling, the idea of an actual wrestling match, those could be quite boring. And so what people learned, because wrestling used to be like a sideshow attraction. When the carnival came to town, there was a wrestling match. We see this sometimes still in pop culture. For example, in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, you know, you had a wrestler who was taking on challengers. Bonesaws ready. This is an example of kind of that carny wrestling event. And what they learned was they could build much
Very
more.
Good impression, by the way.
Thank you. They learned that they could sell more tickets and make more money if they made sure that there was plenty of action, if there was a bit of a story to it. And so, yes, matches are predetermined. But I put it as, like, if you go to, like, Universal Studios, you could take in a stunt show, you know, and it's basically a performance with a lot of stunts. That's what wrestling is, right? I'm not going to say that doesn't hurt. You know, you fall off a 20-foot cage into a table. That's gonna hurt.
And some of the stuff watching, especially in the WWE programming in the past 5 years, is kind of like watching a car wreck happen in front of you. So,
yeah, but it does hurt, and the thing is to try and do these stunts and not really hurt your opponent as much as possible, to tell an effective story and to entertain people. So, yes,
more history with Howard. This is awesome.
Is this truthfully a like a, in the wrestling terms, a shoot fight like UFC where it's like beating the crap out of each other? No. But that's not the point of this. This is meant to tell a story, and in the guise of kind of a sporting type event. So it is theater based around a sport, and I like a lot of what AEW does with this. The win-loss record, it just makes sense. The fact that you're tracking stats, that you can see who's on the rise.
Or who is the number one contender.
Yeah.
For no reason other than, you get a title shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has allowed some really great... Like, it allows for some great storytelling. They've done some great things with it. They've tried some things. They've had some things that failed. You and I covered the whole, the controversy at AEW's Blood and Guts, where Jericho took the bump off the cage, and it was a clearly crash pad that he landed in. I mean, they've had some slip-ups, but they're a young company, WWE has been around for a long time and have had time to perfect this. The problem is that WWE is now kind of like, well, we've had these tricks that work, so we're going to continue to rely on these tricks that work. And the thing about it is we all kind of know these tricks. And so that's kind of the difference here with it. But I haven't watched a lot of AEW, but I have enjoyed what I've watched. I probably would watch more, but I do suffer from, and it is the hard thing. I haven't watched enough. I don't know who all these people are. And that causes a problem. In fact, Kidder, there was something I wanted to talk about this, but I realized that my note about that is one floor down. So
yeah, all right.
So stall.
You need some stalling. Okay. So what I think is interesting about AEW, and without having Howie Blues on the other end to throw this off of, to get his perspective, is a little sad, I suppose. But I watched the first episode of AEW, their debut episode of Dynamite, and it was all right. I mean, I thought it was more like WCW 1998 than anything else, and so I was a little bit disappointed with watching it. So to watch that episode in their debut form and then come back 3 weeks ago or it was 2 weeks ago and watch their current product, I think that they've come a long way, and they've really made a difference in their presentation comparatively, over the past year. And on a professional standpoint, it is good enough to be WWE. You can interchange either of them in the camera work, and the graphics work needs a little extra stuff, but they're going for a different look. And they're going for the sleek, streamlined kind of look is what I get out of it. I don't really like their match cards that they have, just because the font is horrible and you can't really read it. And all of the people are, looking sideways, and you see the whole person. So I'm kind of like, yeah. If we had the the two of us, that'd be great. But like you see the whole person. I'm like, you don't need to put the whole person on the screen. See their shoes and all that. It's unnecessary. So I have little gripes with it that, from a design standpoint, somebody made a choice and they went with it. It's different. Fine.
All right. So I wanted to bring this up. And I will say this comes because I want to give full credit. I didn't do this research. This was in some commentary that I heard, but it comes from the guys over at Wrestling Observer, Brian Alvarez and such. They did and this is a couple of weeks old, so keep that in mind. They did a thing where they did a count of active rosters. So these are the people who are actually wrestling on a day-to-day basis. And so here's the numbers. And this gets to kind of probably one of my issues with AEW, but in a little bit of a good way. So, for example, Monday Night Raw has 35, it's actually now 36 active male wrestlers and 13 active female wrestlers. I said 35. This was right before Randy Orton returned. So adding him back in. So that's roughly 10 wrestlers per hour of Monday Night Raw, which is why if you've ever kind of sat there and watched Raw and went, well, this feels the same, this is why. It's just not enough to mix that up. SmackDown has 24 male wrestlers and 10 female wrestlers, although that would now be 11 because we can now throw in Becky Lynch. Although actually probably be back to 10 because Sasha Banks is in a weird limbo spot. So let's just stick with 10. So again, this doesn't give you a lot. Hey, Kidder, fun fact. Can you guess this? Between Raw and SmackDown, how many writers are on staff? So we'll combine it all.
15.
No, go higher.
30. Even higher. All right, we'll go with a nice round 50.
A little bit lower. It's 40 wrestlers or 40 writers to write Raw and SmackDown.
And yet, this past week, Vince McMahon was apparently furious and rewrote the entire show.
Yeah. So that's the WWE picture. Now, this is where it gets into AEW and why I bring it up as a bit of an issue. AEW's roster at the time that this was done, and I'll add in Punk because we know Punk, but I know there's some female moving around. But AEW's roster at the time of this would be 80 male wrestlers and 18 female wrestlers who are active.
Crazy.
Yeah. So why I say this is a good thing and a bad thing. It is a good thing because we get variety, right? You're able to mix it up quite a bit. The reason it's a bad thing is there's a lot of people I just don't know. And if I'm trying to come over and start to take in this product a little bit more because CM Punk's now on there, we want to cover it a little bit more because of that. We're going to be watching a little bit more. It's a little bit harder for me to get to know who these people are. And that's what makes, again, I watch Dark and Elevation because that's what I have access to. It's a little bit harder to get to know who these guys are and to care. So just as a thing, but I thought that was interesting in that sense, just to hear that AEW just has a humongous roster compared to Raw and SmackDown, and it explains the variety of it.
Yeah. I mean, the wrestling by the numbers, very interesting take on it. From a personal standpoint, watching the new product and trying to figure it out, just like what you were talking about, it takes a lot of time. But you brought a person to my attention, the Orange Cassidy, which we referenced earlier in the episode. He's from wherever, weighing whatever, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, and hands in his pockets and whatever. it's very interesting being the lazy wrestler. And I sent you. Well, that was the other wrestler, Matt Hardy.
Yep.
Matt Hardy was on as a coach, so that brings it full circle. I sent you that video of a match from last week's Dynamite, I think it was, and Orange Cassidy had a match with Matt Hardy, and Matt Hardy ended up busting his nose, and that sumbitch just blood everywhere. In fact, Mrs. almost hurled seeing that. And I was kind of laughing. I'm like, hey, look, you know. So it was kind of funny to me. But and that was a good match. I've seen a couple of his matches, and they're interesting. Some of the other stuff, the Lucha Brothers, we'll discuss them in the rundown of this Sunday's pay-per-view. They put on a hell of a match this Wednesday on Dynamite. Some people say they stole the show. It's been great seeing CM Punk again, and for the first time in 7 years, he hit the GTS on Wednesday. So there's that.
I do want to say, though, because I've seen that story. I'm trying to remember, but there is a small time, very small time, independent wrestling company that CM Punk started with, where a couple of years ago, a hooded masked wrestler may have entered the ring and delivered a GTS.
That's true. I remember that.
So, I'm going to call a little bit of shenanigans on that. But otherwise, yes. I mean, he did deliver the GTS recently.
Yeah. It was good. On top of that, you're talking about the TV time and everything. In addition to having all these additional people on the roster, there's additionally an hour less, technically, of time for both shows. And I'm okay with that. The high pace, let's get this over with. Let's do some matches, have this. And then if you want to watch some extra, here it is on YouTube or all the different places. Absolutely. Because you get what you came for. If you go to the live show, you get even more than what you paid for. And it's set up. I despise the 3-hour Raws and how they wanted to make SmackDown 3 hours, because you're just dragging all of this crap out. Do something interesting. Make it good. Go back 20 years. Do that more high-paced things. And I think that's where AEW has a leg up over WWE at this point.
Right. Well, and AEW only does 4 pay-per-views a year. They do 1 each quarter instead of the 12 that WWE does. But here's the thing then. While you get these big matches, and we should get to the card here soon for all out. But what
everybody who's been staying with us for the past 2 hours.
Yeah. But what I will say is that they do almost like mini pay-per-view on their regular TV. So like Blood and Guts actually aired on TV. That wasn't a pay-per-view. It wasn't behind a paywall. Which was Blood and Guts was kind of their version of WWE Takeover's War Games. So they will build to just like, hey, we're doing Dynamite this week, but it's more than Dynamite. It's a bit more.
Dynamite?
They've done some incredible things that normally WWE would put behind a paywall. They have put on Dynamite and have tried things and experimented with things, and they will have done things. I mean, these guys did a death match on TV. I mean, you won't find a death match on WWE, period.
And barely any bleeding, because Vince doesn't want that apparently doesn't want any of that in the programming right now.
Yeah. So these guys build, like, when they build to an actual pay-per-view, they are putting all of, like, these are big matches. These aren't just the feud of the month. These are big matches. And with that, Kidder, we should run down the All Out card and make some predictions.
do
which
it.
are going to be hilarious because I don't know who most of these people are, and I've also been drinking quite heavily.
Well,
So,
I mean, I made it through this IPA, and that's the only alcohol I've had since the last show that we've done, and I still don't know most of these people. So there's that. Let's start at the top with somebody I know and somebody I don't know. The person I know is Christian Cage. This is for the AEW World Championship. Oh, that reminds me, as a quick side note, I was elated when Justin Roberts was fired from WWE. If you don't know who that is, that's the ring announcer. Used to be for WWE. You know, John Cena. Okay.
you're giving him far more emphasis. He's like the used car salesman of announcers. It's much more of like that slick, like, coming to the ring, John Cena. Like it's used car salesman.
Cena.
And I like John Roberts as a person, and he wrote a very good book about his time in the WWE. But
Justin Roberts.
Justin Roberts.
Yeah.
I'm
because John Roberts is an award-winning journalist, so you don't want to get him too confused.
Howard is on his like third beer of the night. I no longer
Howard's becoming a lightweight.
Howard
No pain in your blip.
But
Good.
But I also am like, when I ran down to get my notes, Kidder, I was a little floaty. This is
perfect. So it's going to be a good end of the episode here. The reason I bring him up is because he is the ring announcer for AEW. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Now I gotta listen to this crap again. So it's like, Christian Cage. Please stop. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I got to figure out a way to watch it. So we'll figure that out Sunday, or just watch highlights. Because apparently I can't even stay awake to finish our damn podcast. So that's and you're already wasted over there. I'm falling asleep as I'm talking. Like this is just, I don't know. We've turned into lightweights or something.
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm wasted. I'm just feeling groovy, man. I'm feeling groovy.
That's just the IPA that you suck down. Gonna be wearing a plaid shirt next, and get this frickin' lumberjack hat and grow out the rest of your beard.
Yeah, I actually, I have tried on several occasions to maybe kind of, like, I played with the idea of growing out the beard, but it just gets to an itchy point and I just can't do it. Like, I just, it gets to a spot where it gets to a certain length. It's like, no, this is just itchy and annoying and I can't do it. So kudos to those of you who can put up with such things and do it. But
I pretty much have to, because it's really the only place else on my head that I can grow hair. So,
yeah.
Well, that's the end of the AEW and WWE discussion for this evening, or this morning, or this afternoon, wherever and whenever you might be right now watching or listening to this. So thanks for making it to this point in the show, because we have barely made it there ourselves. I see that you wanted to talk about Batman.
Yeah, well, so I mentioned I've been watching a lot of random YouTube videos, and I've had a couple that have come through my just random feed, and it's got me wanting to play the Batman Arkham games. Kidder, I'm pretty sure you've never played the Batman Arkham games.
I think I've seen you play maybe 10 or 20 minutes worth, and that's about it.
Yeah, so there are truthfully 4 of them. There's Asylum, City, Origins, and Night. And I own 2. I own Asylum and Night. I've never picked up Origins. I've never. Oh, Night. Ugh. Okay, let's try this again, drunk Howard. I own Asylum and City.
Great.
I don't own Origins and Night. I haven't picked those up because part of it was with those games, they always did a Game of the Year edition that had all of the DLC. And so I kind of would end up waiting for them. And I waited so long on Origins and Night. But they're very good. And they're like over 10 years old at this point, Kidder. At least Asylum is, and so is City. But they're this beautiful, beautiful combination of 3 elements. There's combat, which is this really smooth, rhythmic button masher. Which sounds weird, but it's yeah, I know. It's it's this really rhythmic, smooth button masher. You know, it's pushing only a couple of buttons, but it feels so satisfying. Combat is phenomenal in it. You're flying all around, kicking this guy, going over here, punching this guy, doing a backflip and smacking this guy. And it just feels good, but yet they add in just enough variance throughout the game to make it challenging. It has a puzzle element to it that is great. It's not super hard puzzles, but they feel satisfying when you've done them and you've solved them. And then the third element is stealth, which, Kidder, I know you're not a big fan of stealth games, but I think you would.
No.
I think you would like these because, like, the stealth elements to it are a bit of a puzzle, but it's that you have a lot of options as well. So it's usually you enter a room, you have to take down a certain group of thugs, and there's a lot of ways that you can do it, you know. So you can throw a sonic batarang over to one spot, which lures the guy over, then trigger an explosive so the wall blows over and knocks him out. And as people go running, you drop down from the ceiling and grab a guy and tie him up there, and then quickly dive into a vent and come up and grab. I mean, it feels good when you do it, and it's all wrapped around an amazing story. But I've seen a couple of videos recently about it, and it's got me craving to want to play Origins and Night, which I've never done. So I might pick those up, but it's also got me wanting to go back and play Asylum and City. It's a fantastic series, and some great Batman lore. If you are a Batman fan, there's lots of little Easter eggs and lots of little things to make you go, oh, that's it's phenomenal. One thing to touch on, because you had mentioned the Scarlett Johansson suing Disney over the Black Widow streaming. There won't be another game in the Arkham series, at least. Okay, let me go back and say this. One of the things that makes the Arkham games, except for Origins, really fantastic was they brought in the cast of the Batman animated series to do the voice work. So this included Conroy, whose first name I am missing. Future Howard, save me. Right up here. Conroy, who played Batman and really is a great Batman, but most importantly brings in the phenomenal Mark Hamill as Joker, who, for anyone, if you were going to rank all of the portrayals of Joker throughout the years, Mark Hamill is the best. If you wish to fight me in the comments, bring it. I'll take you out. Mark Hamill is phenomenal as the Joker. So he came back and he did that. And the thing about it is that these Arkham games did so well that Mark Hamill basically said he's not doing another one. And it's because, when he comes in and he's just a voice actor for these, he only gets paid so much. And so he has had a real hard time with, well, I only get paid X amount, but this game is bringing in millions. So he has kind of said, he hasn't gone the lawsuit route that Scarlett Johansson has, but he's basically said, I'm not doing any more because you can't afford me, which is sad. But yeah, if you've never tried the Batman Arkham games, I highly recommend them. They're old. You can probably find them for cheap out there. But they're good. They are very good. The story is excellent. Origins is a little wonky because it was a different studio. And I know Knight gets heavily criticized because driving the Batmobile sucks. But overall, great games. Well, but I might try, Kidder, if I can find my copies this weekend, I might throw in Asylum and start playing through it all again. It's one of the first games that I've ever really wanted to sit there and go, I should 100% this. I should get all the achievements. I think I could do it. I think
the only game that I shouldn't say I had 100%ed 2 games. Saints Row 3 with Rude Boy Kyle, because there's co-player co-op, if you will, so you can play through the entire game, and the two of us 100%ed it. And then Halo Reach, I 100%ed, and then after 2 years, they added a bunch of extra stuff, including new achievements, and I was like, no, this isn't fair. I 100%ed it already. I'm not doing it again. But new Saints Row game coming out February 25th of 2022, and the trailer looks pretty damn good, going back to their roots of Saints Row and Saints Row 2, of the more realistic style, but a little bit out there, so more GTA-esque. So I'm looking forward to it. I will pre-order it at some point. You can pre-order it right now if you want. The Ultimate or Platinum or whatever edition is $100 for the digital version. So I might do that. I haven't decided.
I will probably pick that up eventually. I liked the first 2 Saints Rows. About Saints Row 3 is where I kind of fell off. I thought Saints Row 2 was the pinnacle. Truthfully, I thought it was good. I thought it was I know it gets criticized as being a GTA clone. I thought it had enough unique humor. I thought it was interesting. I enjoyed that gameplay a lot. You know me, I don't always go for the lowbrow humor, and as the game got weirder and weirder and weirder, it got harder and harder for me to be like, should I really be playing this?
Are you saying that you did not appreciate the Penetrator?
I'm very much saying that, and I'm even now kind of annoyed that you said it on the podcast.
Listen, I didn't show a picture or call it out and explain exactly what it is. That's for everybody else to do on their own time and their own browser history. Have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. When I got to that point, I'm just kind of like, it was a little too far out of my comfort zone with gaming. But I liked the first 2, so I'd love to see a return to kind of that level and such. Yeah. But Kidder, we've been talking for quite a while. I'm out of alcohol and probably shouldn't have another. Otherwise, I will be sleeping on this couch over here. I think it's time for some...
That's just because you wouldn't be able to make it upstairs.
Yes, that would be true. Very much so.
Because remember, Don't drink and stares. Thank you. All right, cheap plugs for tonight. Pretty much the same as always, but we do invite you to join us on all of the places where we are available. Things like Facebook, facebook.com/beerbluesbs. You can like the page, join us right there on the old show page. Share it with your friends, share the episodes, check out some of the past episodes. And in fact, it's a great place to get all of the links to everywhere that we are, because we're all over the place. In fact, a great home page, if you will, is beerbluesbs.com. Check it out for yourself. Buy us a beer if you'd like. There's a buy us a beer button. It goes right to us, and no handling fees. So all of your money goes directly to us. Well, to one of us, and then it goes towards the show. So you're not just sending money out into the internet and watching it disappear. No, you actually get yourself one of them there shout outs. It could be you. All you got to do, buy us a beer, send us a message. We'll say thanks. We're very gracious for you spending your hard-earned money to help us make this show successful, because damn, we've been pouring money into this sumbitch since we started, and being 25 weeks in, the damn wallet is losing the money, and we all know the pocketbook doesn't got the money in it, because you see, you gotta have the liability insurance. But all of this could be saved for another episode, because that's where the bottom line is gonna be for tonight, because Tuscan Tooth Jr. said so. All right. beerbluesbs.com. Please check us out. And if you'd like to sponsor us, you can find out information on how to do that right there on the website as well. Aside from Facebook and our website, we are also on Podbean. That's your audio source for Beer Blues BS. It, of course, is beerbluesbs.podbean.com. And then, if you want to listen to us, we are on every single one of them there auditory listening devices, pretty much anywhere and everywhere that you want to be. And we want to be there with you. Google Podcasts, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora. Hell, we're even on the old Amazon and Amazon Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, IMDb, and Player FM. And I think I even saw some metrics from players I don't even know what the hell they are, but we're on them too. So, you know what? Just search Beer Blues NBS or just Beer Blues BS, and you can take our episode with you. And I would be remiss if I did not inform you of this visual version available for your viewing pleasure on YouTube. Yes, go to YouTube and search Beer Blues and BS. And damn it, don't settle for any other fakes. You want the good brothers right here on this Triple B. The visual experience and auditory greatness that you could ever wish to listen to, or maybe forget about. That's okay too. Please just like us, subscribe to us, join us. Thank you for being part of us for another episode. Should I also mention that the KRDN Eyewitness Weather Now channel is available for you on Twitch, twitch.tv/KRDN Eyewitness Weather Now. Yes, local weather just for you. And the Killer Kidder Show on Spotify, if you want a great playlist to get you through the next 3 months, well, that's on there too. Howard's rocking out to it right now. He's lost interest in this just like you have, so I better wrap a nice little tidy bow on this old sumbitch. Please join us next time, or the past time, or the time before that. Anytime, every time is a great time for the Triple B. Free beer tomorrow. Thank you for joining us for this episode. Stay tuned for the Behind the Curtain, and we will catch you on down the old dusty Tuscan highway. Have a good one. Hope your glass is never empty. Damn it!
You have been listening to a UA production of Beer, Blues, and BS. If you enjoyed the show, help others find out about it by rating the show or leaving a review at your podcast listening service of choice. Thanks for listening, and may your glass never be empty. UA Productions presents A Glimpse Behind the Curtain.
I will say, Kidder, I realized it partway through the episode, and I didn't reference it, and I'm glad you didn't reference it either, but I've done this whole episode with a sock on my shoulder.
Yeah. I thought about saying something, and then I was like, it's there for some effect, so.
Thank you. I will cherish this sock forever.
Sock it to you.